So Camilla has just lost it. And the reason she lost it is an honor, a royal honor given to Prince George, something institutional, something ceremonial, something that carries the weight of the monarchy's future written into it. And Camilla's reaction wasn't pride for the family. It wasn't quiet acceptance. It was fury. Because while George was receiving this honor, Camilla's own grandson was nowhere in the picture. Not included, not considered, not even mentioned. And for Camilla, who has spent years trying to ensure that her side of the family holds a place inside the institution, watching the heir's son receive something her own grandchild would never be offered wasn't just a slight. It was a statement, a visible, public, undeniable statement about who belongs in the monarchy's future and who doesn't. And that statement, delivered through an honor rather than a confrontation, landed harder than any argument ever could. Before we go any further, two quick things. First, if you're new here, we're Crown Watch, and we break down the royal stories that actually matter, so hit subscribe. And second, if you want the details the mainstream coverage never touches, head to theroyalfiles.com. There's something on that site we don't talk about here on the channel, a hidden piece of royal history most people never find. The link is in the description. Okay, let's get into it. Here's what you need to understand first, because the context is everything. The honor given to George was not a gift. It was an institutional act, a recognition of his place in the line of succession, a formal acknowledgement of his future role, the kind of ceremonial marker that the monarchy has used for centuries to signal who is being prepared for what. These honors are not distributed casually. They carry meaning. They carry precedent. They communicate to the family and to the country which members of the next generation are being elevated and which are not. And when George received this honor, the message was unmistakable. This is the future. This child, born second in line to the throne, is being prepared for the role he will one day hold. The institution is investing in him. The country is being shown his face. The future is being made visible. And that visibility is what cut Camilla. Because Camilla's grandchildren, the children of her own son and daughter from her first marriage, hold no place in the line of succession. They carry no titles. They have no formal role inside the institution. They are, constitutionally speaking, private citizens who happen to be related to the Queen by her marriage to Charles. And that distinction between the grandchildren who are inside the institution and the grandchildren who are outside it is a distinction Camilla has been trying to blur for years, not dramatically, not through some public campaign, through the quiet, persistent effort of inclusion. A seat at this event, an invitation to that gathering, a mention in this context, a presence at that occasion. Piece by piece, Camilla had been building the visibility of her own grandchildren inside the royal world, creating the impression that they belong there, that their connection to the Queen gave them a place alongside the children who were actually in the line of succession. The honor given to George shattered that impression, because the honor drew a line. On one side, the children of the future king, the direct heirs, the ones the institution is actively preparing for their roles. On the other side, everyone else. And Camilla's grandchildren, however much she loved them, however much she wanted them included, fell on the other side of that line. The honor wasn't designed to exclude them. It wasn't aimed at them at all. But by elevating George specifically, by marking him as the institution's future in a formal, ceremonial way, it made visible the distance between the children who are inside the succession and the children who are not. And that distance, which Camilla had spent years trying to quietly close, was suddenly, publicly, undeniably open. Before we go further, real quick, if you're into deep dives on royal stories that actually sit with the complexity instead of just picking a side, hit subscribe and join us here at Crown Watch. We are building something good. Okay, back to it. Now here's the first twist, and it's the one that makes the whole thing more complicated than a simple snub. Because the decision to give George this honor wasn't made to hurt Camilla. It wasn't made with her grandchildren in mind at all. It was made because George is approaching an age where the institution traditionally begins formalizing the heir's preparation, where ceremonial markers are placed to signal the country that the future is being attended to. The honor was about George, about the succession, about the monarchy's future. It had nothing to do with Camilla's grandchildren. They weren't excluded. They were simply irrelevant to the decision, because the decision was about the line of succession, and they aren't in it. And that irrelevance, that complete absence from the institution's consideration, is what stung Camilla most. Because being excluded implies you were considered and rejected. Being irrelevant means you were never in the conversation at all. That distinction matters because it reveals the real source of Camilla's fury. She wasn't angry that her grandchildren were passed over. She was angry that they were never in the running, that the institution didn't even think about them, that the question of whether they might receive something similar was never raised because the answer was so obviously no that nobody needed to raise it. And for a woman who has spent years building the case, quietly and persistently, that her side of the family deserves institutional recognition, discovering that the institution doesn't even consider that case worth discussing is a deeper wound than any deliberate snub. Now here's the second twist, and it's the one that explains why Camilla's fury turned toward the institution rather than toward William and Catherine specifically. Because Camilla understood, once the initial anger faded, that this wasn't a personal decision by William and Catherine. It was an institutional one. The honor was recommended by the palace team responsible for succession planning. It was approved through the usual constitutional channels. It followed precedents set across centuries of monarchy. William and Catherine didn't invent it to exclude Camilla's family. They accepted a recommendation that the institution produced because the institution is designed to produce exactly these kinds of markers for the children in the line of succession. The machinery did what the machinery does. And the machinery doesn't have a setting for including the Queen's step-grandchildren in honors designed for the direct line. That structural reality is the thing Camilla has been fighting against, and it's the thing the honor made impossible to ignore. Because the monarchy is built on bloodline, on succession, on the direct line from one sovereign to the next. And that line runs through Charles, through William, through George. It does not run through Camilla's children from her first marriage, and it does not include her grandchildren. Camilla married into the institution. She holds a position within it, but her position is attached to Charles, not to the line itself. When Charles is gone, the position ends. And the children and grandchildren she brought with her into the marriage carry no institutional standing independent of her. The honor given to George simply made that structural reality visible. And visibility is the thing Camilla has been trying to avoid, because as long as the distinction remained invisible, she could work around it. Once it became visible, she couldn't. Now here's where it gets genuinely personal, and where I want to be fair to Camilla, because her pain is real even if her position is constitutionally indefensible. Because Camilla's grandchildren are children. They didn't choose any of this. They didn't choose to have a grandmother who married the king. They didn't choose to exist in the strange borderland between the royal family and the private world. They attend events. They see their step-grandfather on the throne. They are surrounded by a world of ceremony and privilege that includes them personally, but excludes them institutionally. And Camilla, as their grandmother, wants to protect them from the pain of that exclusion, wants to build a place for them inside the world they're connected to, but don't constitutionally belong to. That desire is human, it's understandable, and it's the thing that makes her fury at the honor something more than just entitlement. It's a grandmother's pain at watching one set of grandchildren elevated while another set watches from outside the frame. But here's the hard truth that Anne reportedly delivered when the situation was discussed inside the family, and it's the third twist. Because Anne, who has no patience for blurred lines and even less for arguments that confuse affection with institutional standing, looked at the situation and said what nobody else was willing to say. She said that Camilla's grandchildren were not entitled to institutional honors because they held no institutional position, that the line of succession determines who receives these markers, and that the line of succession is not a matter of opinion or affection. She said that Camilla's effort to blur the boundary between her step-grandchildren and her biological grandchildren was understandable as a grandmother, but dangerous as a precedent. because the moment you start granting institutional recognition to people whose connection to the institution comes through marriage rather than through blood, you've opened a door that can never be closed. Every future consort's family would expect the same. Every marriage would bring a new set of claims. The institution would expand through marriage rather than through succession, and the line between the royal family and the families connected to it by marriage would disappear entirely. Anne's argument was cold, but it was constitutionally airtight, and Camilla knew it, because Camilla is smart enough to understand the difference between what she wants and what the institution can actually provide. She knows her grandchildren aren't in the line of succession. She knows they have no constitutional claim to honors designed for the direct heirs. She knows that the distinction between blood and marriage is the foundation the entire institution is built on. And she knows, however painful it is, that the honor given to George was not a statement against her grandchildren, but a statement about the succession, a statement the institution has been making for 1,000 years. Her fury wasn't really directed at the honor. It was directed at the reality the honor revealed, the reality that her marriage to Charles, however powerful it made her personally, did not and could not extend institutional standing to the family she brought with her. Anne's argument also carried historical weight because this isn't the first time the question has arisen. The monarchy has dealt with step-families before, with consorts who brought children from previous marriages, with the messy human reality that families don't always follow the clean lines that constitutions prefer, and the institution's answer has been consistent across centuries. The line of succession is the line. Marriage connects people to the royal family personally. It does not extend institutional standing to the families those people bring with them. That's not a modern invention. It's a principle as old as the monarchy itself, and it exists because the alternative, extending institutional recognition through every marriage, would have made the royal family unmanageably large within a generation. Camilla knows this history. She's lived inside the institution long enough to understand how it works, and that's part of what makes her fury so complex, because it's not the fury of someone who doesn't understand the rules, it's the fury of someone who understands them perfectly and hates them. Camilla knows her grandchildren have no constitutional claim. She knows the distinction is real. She knows the institution can't bend on it without breaking something fundamental. And she's furious anyway, because knowing something intellectually and accepting it emotionally are two completely different things, and Camilla has never been able to fully accept the thing she has always known, which is that her marriage to Charles gave her everything except the power to bring her own family into the institution with her. And here's the part that makes this genuinely painful rather than just political, because Camilla's grandchildren are growing up in the gap between connection and exclusion. They attend family gatherings where the distinction between the children who are inside the institution and the children who are outside it is visible in 100 small ways, in who sits where, in who is introduced how, in which children the cameras follow and which ones they don't. These children live at the edge of a world they can see but can never fully enter. And Camilla, watching them navigate that gap, carries a grandmother's guilt for having placed them in it, because it was her marriage to Charles that gave them proximity to an institution that would welcome them personally but never recognize them formally. If Camilla had married anyone else, her grandchildren would be private citizens with no proximity to the monarchy and no reason to feel its exclusion. They are where they are because Camilla put them there, and the honor given to George made that reality inescapable. That guilt is part of what drives her fury. Not just entitlement, not just ambition. Guilt, the grandmother's knowledge that the children she loves are caught in a position she created for them, a position of permanent proximity to something they can never have. Every ceremonial honor given to George, every marker of his future, every visible step in his preparation as a future king reminds Camilla's grandchildren that they are on the other side of a line they didn't draw. And Camilla, who drew it by marrying Charles, who chose a love that came with this consequence, cannot protect them from it. The institution she married into doesn't have a mechanism for including them, and the woman they call grandmother doesn't have the power to build one. Now here's the fourth twist. And it's the one that connects this to everything else. Because Camilla's anger about the honor didn't stay contained. It flowed into the broader tensions that have been building for months. The questions about her future, about her household, about the arrangements she's been trying to secure for the next reign. Because the honor and the succession framework are part of the same structure. The same set of rules that says the monarchy's future runs through the direct line and that everything else is secondary. The reform Charles signed, the announcement William and Catherine made about the next reign, the security framework for departed royals, the terms governing Harry's return, all of it comes from the same principle. The institution serves the succession, and the succession is defined by bloodline, not by marriage. Camilla's fury at the honor was, in this sense, fury at the entire architecture that has been closing in around her, because every decision the family has made in recent months has reinforced the same structural reality. The next reign will be defined by the incoming sovereign and consort. Arrangements from the current reign won't carry forward automatically. Institutional standing follows the line of succession, not the Queen's personal connections. And now an honor given to George has made the same point in the most visible way possible, through a child, through the future itself, through a ceremonial marker that says this is who matters next. Charles's position in all of this was characteristically agonizing because Charles loves Camilla's grandchildren. He has been a genuine presence in their lives. He has included them in family occasions. He has treated them with warmth and generosity, and he understands Camilla's pain at watching the distinction between his biological grandchildren and her biological grandchildren made visible through an institutional honor. But Charles also understands, as king, that the distinction is real, that the institution cannot pretend it doesn't exist, that the line of succession is the line of succession, and that extending institutional recognition beyond it to accommodate his wife's family would set a precedent that would damage the monarchy for generations. Charles reportedly told Camilla that he shared her pain but could not share her position, that the honor given to George was right and necessary, that the institution's obligation was to the succession, not to the extended family, and that however much he loved her grandchildren personally, he could not build them an institutional standing that the Constitution did not provide for. That answer wounded Camilla deeply, because it came from the one person she believed would always find a way to include her family, and the discovery that even Charles, who had defended her through everything, drew the line at extending institutional standing to her grandchildren, felt like the final proof that her marriage to the king had limits she would never be able to overcome. Catherine's role in the honor was deliberately understated, and that understatement was itself significant, because Catherine understood that the honor would be read by Camilla and by the public as a statement about George's future. And Catherine wanted the honor to speak for itself, without any additional messaging that could be interpreted as a comparison or a provocation. She didn't celebrate it publicly. She didn't frame it as a victory. She treated it as what it was, a normal, expected, constitutionally appropriate marker in the preparation of a future king. Her understatement communicated something important, that the honor was not about Camilla, was not about the comparison between grandchildren, was not about the distinction between blood and marriage. It was about George. And by keeping the focus on George, Catherine denied Camilla the narrative she would have preferred, which was a narrative about exclusion rather than preparation. William, by the accounts available, was direct about the honor when Camilla raised her objection. He said George was receiving the honor because George was second in line to the throne, that the honor was designed for the succession, that no other consideration was relevant. And he said it without apology, because the constitutional position was unchallengeable, and William saw no reason to dress it up in softer language. William's directness, as it so often does, ended the argument by refusing to engage with its emotional premises. Camilla wanted to talk about fairness. William talked about succession, and succession in a monarchy always wins the argument. Now here comes the final twist. Because Camilla's fury at the honor revealed something about her ambitions that the previous disputes had only hinted at. The requests she had been making about her future position, the arrangements she had been trying to secure, the documents seeking continuation beyond the present reign, all of them had been framed as being about Camilla herself. about her household, her staff, her standing. But the fury at the honor, the specific pain of watching her grandchildren excluded, revealed that the ambition had always been larger than Camilla alone. She wasn't just trying to secure her own future, she was trying to build an institutional bridge between the monarchy and her own family. A bridge that would give her children and grandchildren a place inside the world she had married into. The honor given to George destroyed the bridge, because it showed, in the clearest possible terms, that the institution's future belonged to the children in the line of succession and to no one else. And that handwritten list that has surfaced before, the one with the name Camilla wanted protected first, takes on a different meaning now. Because if the name on that list is one of her grandchildren, and the protection she wanted was institutional standing for a child who holds no constitutional place, then the entire saga of requests and arrangements and continuation beyond the present reign was never really about Camilla's household at all. It was about building something for the next generation of her family inside an institution that was never designed to include them. And the honor given to George, by drawing the sharpest possible line between the children who are in the succession and the children who are not, may have been the moment that plan finally, permanently failed. Nobody celebrated. Because there's nothing to celebrate about a grandmother watching one set of grandchildren elevated while another watches from outside. There's nothing to celebrate about a woman discovering through a child's honor that the institution she married into has limits her marriage cannot cross. And there's nothing to celebrate about a family in which the most painful truths are communicated, not through conversation but through ceremony, not through words but through who is included and who is not. The honor was right. The succession is the succession. The institution did what institutions do. And Camilla sat with the consequence, which is the recognition that her marriage to the king gave her a crown, but could not give her grandchildren a place beside the children who will one day inherit it. So here's where I hand it to you. Was the honor simply a normal part of preparing George for his future role, and is Camilla wrong to read anything personal into it? Or does the institution bear some responsibility for the pain its structures cause to the people caught on the wrong side of the line? Is Camilla's desire to include her grandchildren understandable but constitutionally impossible? Or has she been trying all along to build something the monarchy was never designed to accommodate? And does the fury she felt at the honor reveal the real ambition underneath every request she's ever made? The ambition to bridge the gap between the family she brought and the family she married into? There is no clean answer. And anyone who hands you one quickly hasn't sat with the full weight of it. And the honor did something else that nobody has quite named yet. It changed how the staff inside the palace understood the boundaries. Because before the honor, Camilla's quiet effort to include her grandchildren in the institutional world had been tolerated, partly because nobody wanted to confront the queen, partly because the inclusion happened in small enough increments that no single instance seemed worth challenging. A seat here, an invitation there, a mention in this context. None of it rose to the level of a formal objection. But the honor drew the institutional line so visibly, so formally, so unmistakably, that the quiet inclusion suddenly looked like exactly what it was, a gradual attempt to blur a boundary the institution depended on. And after the honor, the tolerance dried up. Staff who had accommodated the quiet inclusion began asking whether it was appropriate. Administrators who had looked the other way began requesting guidance. And the guidance that came back was the same principle the honor had expressed. Institutional standing follows the succession. Connection through marriage does not extend it. That shift is the thing that will affect Camilla most in the weeks ahead, because the quiet inclusion depended on the staff's willingness to accommodate it without question. The honor took that willingness away, not by ordering anyone to stop, but by making the principle so visible that continuing to blur the line became professionally risky. Nobody wants to be the aide who extended institutional recognition to someone the institution has formally marked as outside the succession. The honor didn't issue an instruction, it issued a standard. And standards, once visible, govern behavior far more effectively than any instruction could. Camilla's quiet strategy of inclusion didn't end because someone forbade it. It ended because the honor made everyone too aware of what was happening to keep pretending they didn't see it. The honor stands, the line holds, and Camilla's grandchildren remain on the other side of it. The grandmother who wanted to build them a bridge discovered that the bridge was never hers to build, because the institution she married into was designed to include bloodline and exclude everything else, and no amount of quiet maneuvering could change a principle that old. The fury she felt at the honor will fade. The reality it revealed will not. And the handwritten list, the name she wanted protected first, sits somewhere inside a file that now contains one more piece of evidence about what Camilla was really building and why, piece by piece, it has all come undone. When the next chapter moves, you already know where to look for the parts nobody else will tell you. The next chapter of this family is still being written, and when it moves, we will be here to talk about it. If this video made you see any part of the story differently, drop your position in the comments. I read every one of them. And on a question this complicated, I genuinely want to know where you land. Subscribe if you are not already with us, because the next chapter is coming, and it is going to be one worth watching.